Um, okay, lady, this meeting is being recorded. And I'm still looking for the agenda. Can you post the agenda?
Yeah, if I believe I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, yeah. So,
yeah.
Any comments from the public? You said there's two or three, two?
Before we do that, let me go ahead and take roll call.
Okay.
So let's go with Gary Johns.
I am here.
Carolyn Schofield.
Here.
Matthew Vasilakis.
Here.
Secretary Webb.
Here.
Vice Chair Hammond.
Here.
And Chair Price.
Here.
We have a quorum, and Chair Price, just a friendly reminder, it is Matt's birthday, so.
Oh, Lord. How old are you, Matt? We're not going to sing happy birthday to you, I don't think.
I appreciate that. No singing. I'm 32, so.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Eddie, I was thinking you could sing to Matt.
No.
Another trip around the sun complete.
Another trip around the sun.
That's awesome.
Now let's get some more solar.
Yeah, but happy birthday, young man.
Thank you.
And I just received, well, anyhow, we'll go to public comments now. Sebastian, please.
All right. Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to have two new. One is the newest, and then the other one has been super busy doing our rates, so he had a chance to come and say hello. But we have two of our newest staff members with us, and wanted them to have an opportunity to introduce themselves to you, say a little bit about who they are and where they come from. So let's go ahead and get started with Lucas Utuo, and then we'll follow up with Eric.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Lucas Uto. I'm the Director of Data Analytics and Account Services at San Diego Community Power. Before joining the SDCP team, I worked for Calpine Energy Solutions for close to a decade, doing each and everything from direct access, community choice aggregation implementation, rate setting implementation, and billing, account services management, and each and everything pertinent to the electric markets in the Western region. So ERCOT, California, Oregon, etc. I'm very happy to be part of the SCCP team. Definitely very happy to be part of working group with you all, and I definitely look forward to working with each one of you. If you have any questions with regards to any of the rate setting mechanics or anything pertinent to account services, please feel free to reach out to me directly or members of my team, and we'll be more than glad to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Great, and we'll turn it over to Eric.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Price, great to see you, my friend. I believe the most recent addition to the SDCP team. I joined the team with over 24 years of banking and finance experience, community leadership. I'm also a Navy veteran. I sit in the seat as the Chief Financial Officer for SDCP, and the old adage is, come in and hit the ground running. Well, I think I came in, hit the ground sprinting. I've had the opportunity to come alongside Cody Hovind, our Chief Operating Officer, to get involved with an amendment to fiscal year 21 budget. I've taken the reins on the fiscal year 22 budget, which we hope to get that ratified by the board at our next board meeting. I'll also be coming alongside of Sebastian, whom I believe has been kind of coordinating the Financial Risk Management Committee. So I'll be taking the lead on that committee as well. Excited to be a part of the team with Lee, Sebastian, Lucas, other team members of SDCP, and really excited to be a member of the executive team to get involved with contributing to the success of this authority, this organization, and hopefully looking forward to meeting all of you at some point in the not so distant future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. You sound qualified. I don't know where they found you at, but I'm glad you're on board and part of the leadership team.
Well, we can take that conversation offline, my friend. I'll share some insights with you.
Yeah, maybe over a hamburger or something.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me, sir. Thanks,
Thank
Chair
you.
Price.
Thank you. Moving on, number 4, are there any items on the agenda to be withdrawn, reordered, or reordered? Is everything good? We might be out of here by 1 o'clock, is my understanding.
9 minutes ago.
Well, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess there's nothing to be withdrawn or reordered, so we'll move on to item agenda 5, receive the update on the phase 2 rollout.
Great. And before we pass it over to Lee, just want to thank again Eric and Lucas for joining us today. As you guys can see, every month we're bringing new people. Next month we'll be bringing in a couple more folks on the procurement side. So you'll get a chance to meet those as well. Thank you, Chair, and I'll pass it over to Lee.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thank you, Chair Price and board members. Lee Friedman, Key Accounts Manager with San Diego Community Power. I have a presentation for you today to go over how our enrollment is going out right now for phase 2 and some of our next steps. You've met pretty much everybody in the account services team at this point. Myself, my director, Lucas, and then my colleague, Nelson, who isn't with us today, but I believe gave you the presentation on net energy metering maybe last month. So us three, we powerful three, we make up the account services team and have been working over the past couple of months to make this rollout of phase 2 as seamless as possible, to work with the community members and businesses to make sure they knew what was going on, and working with our marketing team, Civilian, to make sure that as we go through this rollout, we're getting that name ID out, we're building that trust in the community. We can go to the next page, next slide. So just a couple of facts right off the front. Our phase 2 enrollment began June 1st. There are 72,000 commercial and industrial accounts that are going to be enrolled as part of this phased enrollment. All customers in Imperial Beach, La Mesa, Chula Vista, and San Diego get auto-enrolled into our service at the Power On level. Customers in Encinitas will be auto-enrolled into Power 100. This was decided by the Encinitas City Council. There are accounts that are commercial and industrial in nature that are not being enrolled as part of our phase 2 enrollment. Net energy metering accounts, RES-BCT, standby accounts, complex billing, all of those types of accounts are being moved into our phase 3 enrollment. That has been distributed, and our commercial and industrial customers know that. But we expect that there might be out of the 72,000, we've done outreach to quite a few, but not to all 72,000. So while this information has been published and sent out in our notices, we will be making sure to continue to help educate so that as we go into our phase 3 enrollment, people are aware of all the accounts that will be enrolled during that time. Next slide. So the key account team, or the account services team, has been conducting outreach to key accounts in advance of the June enrollment. So as soon as I was hired, as soon as Nelson was hired, and as soon as Lucas was hired, all within about a week of each other, we got together and formulated a plan to reach out and educate customers on the benefits of SDCP, with the intent to improve opt-up numbers, to help businesses understand the value proposition and see the benefit in opting up to Power 100 while reducing opt-out risk. So we have done quite a bit of outreach, and I want to take a moment right now just to thank so many of you. The CAC board members have opened a lot of doors for us over the past couple of months while we've been trying to get out into the community and do outreach. So first of all, thank you so much for proselytizing the good word of SDCP and making our job that much easier to get out into the community, talk to businesses, talk to groups, and make sure they know who we are and what we're doing. But we also did a lot of just mano-a-mano outreach to customers themselves. So we plan on continuing that outreach even through the June enrollment. This is what we'll be doing beyond just phase 2 enrollment. We need to build those relationships with key accounts. We need to build the relationships with other businesses throughout the community. So, we will continue to be working towards building that larger community of SDCP advocates, but also making sure that businesses, even through enrollment, through the summer and into next year, we're constantly knocking on their doors, calling their phones, and making sure they know who we are and what we're doing. Next slide, please. Part of this is we're getting feedback from customers as well, which is invaluable to us, because as we go out into the community, it's important for us to hear back from customers. What did they hear before we even got started? As I think all of you know, SDCP does not exist in a vacuum. And even beginning with the formation of the CCA a couple of years ago, there was a lot of interesting press that came out about, what is a CCA and should we trust it, or there was some information that was out there that we had to work to correct. Let's just put it that way. And while we've been able, I think, to generally elicit really positive feedback because of a whole host of reasons, but I would say, one, being cost competitive, two, having a really good story to tell, three, a vibrant and energetic team on the account services side that really is looking to build long-term relationships, not just flash in the pan. Hey, do you know about us? Here's some information, calls if you need anything. That's not what we do. We really work to build relationships that last. But even then, we do run into, I would say, sort of the leftovers from the CAC battle that waged a couple of years ago. And those hesitancies are harder to overcome, even though we're working towards it. So skepticism of government-run power is probably right up there, along with the you auto-enrolled us and we don't like that. You said it's choice, but is it really choice if we're auto-enrolled? Concerns about reliability or potential impacts to customer operations. This generally tends to be the easiest hesitancy to overcome when people realize that we're not a poles and wires company, and that reliability from the standpoint that they're thinking of really doesn't change. Concerns about rate hikes and ability for SDCP to stay competitive with local utility. This is another one that's really hit and miss. I think most of the businesses we've talked to have felt and have been burned by a series of aggressive rate increases by San Diego Gas and Electric, and so are happy to see somebody else coming into town. We have heard that some businesses have said that they were expecting us to be a lot more, have a larger value proposition than the one that we currently have, even though we are right now less expensive than SDG&E for our base service. For some customers, I think that they were expecting us to come in and be able to beat them by 10% or something. So, there's a bit of expectation setting that has to happen as well. And I think, without a doubt, everybody has responded positively to the fact that we conduct all of our rate setting in open Brown Act notified public forums, that we want community feedback. I think the way that SDG&E has set rates in the past, and the way that people find out about how their rates have been adjusted, usually a month after their bill comes in, is not something that has, it's not elicited a lot of positive feelings. But there is obviously still skepticism about whether or not we are going to stay competitive. And because we're new and we don't have a long history, when they say, well, how many times have you adjusted rates? And we say, well, we just did. And they go, well, how many more times are you going to do that? It's a nuanced conversation that has to be had. Generally, though, the way that we've been able to, I think, stick to the benefits of SDCP by, the much more renewable power that we're receiving, the value proposition about being a little less expensive, but most importantly, the fact that you can opt out, which I know is strange, like to say, like, hey, but you can opt out if you want to. That tends to lower the hackles of some businesses when it's, you're not in a contract with us. We're not forcing you to be with us. This really is a choice. And when we get back around full circle to that idea, I think that there's that bridge of trust gets built a little bit better. And finally, and this is really unique to certain industries in the city of San Diego. But the fact is that we do not have a demand response program set up right now. And there are some organizations that really are able to take advantage of critical peak pricing and demand response. They are hesitant to be part of our service until we can offer a parallel program. Now, the vast majority of customers who are on critical peak pricing don't even know that they are, since they've been auto or voluntold into those programs. And then I would say the vast majority of the people who are in those programs are not able to meet the event day energy reductions. So not being in a critical peak price program should have an overall benefit to them. But there are certain large energy users in certain industries who have actually built their operations around taking an advantage of critical peak pricing. And that's something that we're going to have to work towards next year. So next slide, please. Now, one of the easiest ways that we can sort of remove that hesitancy is to build trust and improve recognition. Again, a lot of this is coming from the fact that we're new, that what they have, what some businesses and customers have heard are relics from the CCA formation argument several years ago. But what we need to do, and what we've set aside some budget for, and what I'll be getting into later in this PowerPoint presentation, is how do we build that trust and improve recognition. So while we as a team have worked with our key accounts, there's a broader media strategy that we need to develop to inform that larger customer base, because we're not going to be able to individually call all 72,000 accounts. So when we hired Civilian, the marketing firm and PR firm, they, scoped under their services was developing the marketing materials as well as the development of a paid media strategy. And we have several really important goals for our media strategy. One, first and foremost, is to build our name ID and improve overall recognition. When somebody sees our logo or hears San Diego Community Power or SDCP, we don't want that to just be a, just white noise. We want people to understand that that's we're a real organization. Of course, part of our media strategy is to educate to reduce opt-outs. We want to make sure that we're advertising in diverse neighborhoods and in Spanish. We need to make sure that we have an eye towards equity, and we're seeing what we're trying to market through the lenses of the different communities that we're reaching out to, and not just blasting the same exact marketing message to every single community. Different communities, we want to make sure that we're translating what we're saying from a cultural perspective so that it works.
Can I ask a question here? It says neighborhoods and in Spanish, but there's many more languages spoken in this region than just Spanish.
Right. We have, for phase 3, we've budgeted additional languages for the communication that we'll be doing for residences. For businesses, based on the resources and timing that we had, this is what we were able to do with that sort of runway and the timing. For phase 3, though, we are absolutely expanding that, and we'll be doing additional languages. We also wanted to partner with trusted local institutions and businesses for potential co-branding and co-marketing opportunities. So as we have customers who stay in our service and then potentially opt up to Power 100, or who are important power brokers or trusted institutions within our neighborhoods, we want to make sure that we can share the stage with those organizations, talk about either their investments and their abilities to move to Power 100, and sort of build on that co-branding, co-marketing relationship so that we can have the benefit of building that trust within the community with a known brand, and that customer can, espouse all the wonderful things they're doing for the climate and for the environment by being part of San Diego Community Power. Next slide. So we're getting right now into the market and media strategy. So one of the things that we told Civilian was, come to us with some concepts, and we'll try to work and see, how can we get some concepts that we think will work for our neighborhoods, our communities, our businesses. And we ended up, they say that they gave us a bunch of concepts to look at, but we really liked 2 of them. We said, let's merge these 2 concepts together. One was the concept of win-win, which is, and again, this is from a commercial point of view, commercial and industrial. This idea of win-win is that you can do the right thing for your business and do the right thing for the environment as well. You can do the right thing for your business and the right thing for your community. It is a win-win concept. So you can have peace of mind by having that affordable pricing for renewable energy. And you can know that you are making a difference when it comes to making our environment cleaner and greener. We also really love the idea of local pride. I mean, I think all of us, no matter what neighborhood you live in this region, you know, we love the fact that we are in San Diego, in the San Diego region. We love, you know, our weather, our culture, our food, the businesses that are here, whether it's, you know, local pride for, biotech or science or military or defense or the breweries. You know, we've got a lot of really important scenes that are around here, and we wanted to make sure that we were playing to our strengths as a region. So how, you know, another message we want to make sure is that when you're part of this organization, you are bettering your community. It's not just, you know, you can think of it as a community impact. And so we asked Civilian to merge those two concepts together. And next slide. And we use that to be able to develop a paid media strategy. So right here, just so you can see it, and I think, Sebastian, you sent out these PowerPoints, right? So we don't have to spend a lot of time looking at this slide, but here is the timing of our media strategy. You know, we've got on the left-hand side, you'll see between mail drops, community page launch, letters, press releases, and our paid media plan, we are trying to blanket the next couple of months with all of the work that we're doing so that we can get that recognition. Between the UT, the Voice and Viewpoint, KPBS, the Business Journal, and the work that we're doing in Spanish media on El Latino and Univision, and then on the social side, our hope is that there is not one community in our region that isn't going to be able to hear one of these messages. You can go to the next slide. So this is, for example, the ad that's been put together for the San Diego Business Journal. It's a full page ad, has this win-win front and center message. There's a cleaner power option who reinvests in your community. Oh, hey, we're competitively priced too. Again, it's this idea that you can have your cake and eat it almost to a certain extent. You want to move on to the next slide? San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. Make a positive, this is the local pride, make a positive impact in your community while getting cleaner power at competitive rates. That's win-win-win. So the subtext is the win-win in this one. And so again, we're really trying to build and play with this idea that for the businesses and commercial industrial clients that we have, customers that we have, that it really can be about doing what's right for you, but doing what's right for you is also what's going to help everybody else. Next slide. Social media, we're already on Instagram, Facebook. I know that I've been retweeting as much as I possibly can and liking things. Again, on the social media side, the idea is, front and center, have that value statement put up right up there. Make a positive impact in your community. There's a cleaner power option in town. Again, all of this has been, and I don't have the slides up here right now, I'm sorry, but all this has been translated with cultural input into Spanish as well, so that when you're reading it in Spanish, it's not just a word for word translation. Next slide. Now, this is what I'm super excited about. Power 100, of course, is our premium product. And when you have a premium product, you want to make sure that there's a premium service behind it, right? And what we've decided and built around is this idea of creating a community of Power 100 champions. So using the Power 100 champion name, we want to create a badge, a physical, center point that businesses can put onto their windows, onto their doors, and people can just at a glance see right away, hey, there's something special about that business. So we've developed this badge Civilian developed this badge for us, and we think it's absolutely wonderful. And what we'll be able to do is help the businesses who have opted up to Power 100 really create a vibrant, catchy, point where we can draw the customer's attention when they're walking by that business, and we will trigger, oh, that business, they're 100% renewable energy. Beyond just the physical badge, though, we're also developing a couple of pages on our website. One, which will have an interactive map with all of the businesses who have opted up to Power 100. And again, this is all optional. So businesses who opt up to Power 100 don't automatically need to be enrolled into our Power 100 Champion community. It's if the businesses wants to, they can choose to apply. It's a very simple application, and then they would get all the benefits of this, but it's not forced on anybody. But again, if they choose to be part of this community and become a Power 100 champion, they can have their businesses listed on our website with an interactive map, hyperlinked. They'll have access to a digital toolkit where they'll have access to these badges and also social media copy that they can use. They'll have they'll be getting in the mail a physical mailer with probably at least 2 badges of different sizes they can put on their place of business, as well as a thank you letter. We want to make sure that for those people who move up to Power 100, they get the benefit of being able to brag about it, really, because it's such an incredible thing. Next slide. So that really brings me to the end of the presentation. I said it in the beginning. I want to say it at the end, though. This really wouldn't have been possible without a lot of the groundwork that was laid by the advocates in the community, including the members of the CAC. So I really do want to thank you personally. Your community outreach, the community outreach that we've done, we know has been made easier by the work that you've already done, and that the success of the phase 2 enrollment is because we've all been working together. So I really wanted to, again, just thank you for all the work that you've done on your end, and we're excited to be, moving through the month of June and looking forward to seeing, how this media strategy and how our outreach will impact our opt-out and opt-out rates. And I guess I'll just say on the end, we are also tracking all of the metrics here, and we'll be doing a sort of post-mortem at the end of the phase 2 enrollment to make sure that what we've done on a paid media strategy, what we're doing on the key accounts, this is an ever-evolving, ever-learning process. So if things aren't working, we'll adjust them. The things that are working, we'll probably put more resources behind. And I think I've said this to some of you individually, but as you're out in the community and you're hearing things, give us that feedback, because the best, your boots on the ground, you have ears on all of these issues. If you're hearing that certain messaging is working really well or certain messaging is falling on deaf ears, that's invaluable information for us as we develop our phase 3 approach, because what we're doing for phase 2 is sort of like the amuse-bouche to the main course, which is phase 3. We really do have we're going to be developing a much larger media strategy, a much larger marketing strategy for our residents. So we want to make sure that we're testing sort of the right messages now. Obviously, some of these are more geared to commercial and industrial, but what if there are certain things that seem to be connecting and vibing with our community members and neighbors? That's what we want to focus on as we head into phase 3. So I appreciate the time today. Thank you, Chair Price. I know I said you wanted to get out of here at 2 o'clock, so I'm happy to take any questions, but really do appreciate the time that you've given me today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Anybody on the committee have any questions for this young man?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Curious if you can report the opt-out rate yet to date for phase 1 and phase 2, as well as the percentage that have opted for Power 100 thus far.
So,
okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lucas, I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. Well, first of all, I guess I should ask, can we share that information right now? And if we can, we'd be happy to. If not, maybe we can schedule another time for that.
How long will it take?
Lucas, do you happen to have the opt-out numbers in front of you?
I actually do. Just give me 1 second. Let me pull them up. So from a account perspective, we currently have 897 accounts that have opted out, and that represents about a 1.7%. So our participation rate is currently at 98.2. And then from a load perspective, we are at 98.5 participation, meaning 1.5% of our load has actually opted out.
And our pro forma is a 15% opt-out rate, correct? Yeah.
Correct. And just to add additional context, so we do provide the opt-outs metrics in the board packets under the O&A section. And we will also be doing that for the upcoming board meeting this month.
Thank you. Did you have also, Lucas, the percentage that have opted to Power 100 thus far?
Yes, I actually do. So for the opt-ups to our Power 100, we are at only 236 accounts that have opted up. And the bulk of those actually seem to be coming from the city of San Diego. And in terms of the opted upload, it's 0.5% that has opted up. And again, this does not factor in Encinitas, wherein every account has been defaulted to our Power 100.
Okay, I think I was looking for including Encinitas as well, and obviously people in Encinitas can opt down if they wanted to, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
as of this week, we do not have any opt-downs, which is definitely great.
Oh,
Thank you for that information.
My pleasure.
Okay, any more questions for this young man?
Can I do
Okay,
one?
well, I think that's, pardon me?
I would
Got
like
one
to.
more?
So at the last meeting, we talked about civilians outreach was going to be specific to commercial, and we weren't ready to be launching ads on trolleys, for instance, because the residential rollout was far away. With these new ads in certain publications as well as social media, has that changed, or are the ads still mostly commercial? I see some of them mention residential. Just for our knowledge, what is the approach right now?
So yeah, the approach is still to do the focus is on commercial industrial. Some of our paid media is also like on LinkedIn, where it's just targeted right to certain businesses. We are actually sitting down with Civilian right now to start developing our phase 3 marketing and paid media strategy. And part of what we're doing is we're also collecting back the metrics data that we're going to be getting from phase 2, which will help inform how we're developing our phase 3 strategy.
Okay, thank you so much for that information.
Thank you.
Chair Price, I think Gary has his hand up.
Go ahead, Gary. Thank you.
yes. I just got a note. My internet connection's unstable. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Okay, good. Well, I appreciate that. And Tara and I are reps from Encinitas, so I'm kind of interested in that. What percentage or what number of the commercial accounts from Encinitas? I guess that's just the one final thing. The other statistics.
Sorry, Gary, you did actually break up maybe right when the important information was coming out. What are you looking, percentage of what from Encinitas?
No, percentage of the total commercial customers is
Okay, right.
what fraction? Yeah, what fraction is Encinitas?
Understood.
Lucas,
do you have that handy, or I know we could do some simple math and get that to you, but I don't know.
Yeah, I actually do not have that, but if you give me 50 seconds, I will get it. Give me 1 minute, please.
Yeah, we just have to go into our recon lists and then sort by city, sort by town, and then we could tell you, but it's probably taking Lucas just a couple minutes to jump into the Excel files to do that. Maybe this is a good time to sing Matthew happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. I think in the meantime, Chair, if you want to entertain any public comments, any comments from the public.
Sounds like a plan. Any public comments?
Oh, I see Tom.
I can't see hands from the public comments from the public, so.
I can let you know, just a friendly reminder for anyone in the public to raise your hand and you'll be called upon if you have a question or a comment. And I just promoted Tom Summers to panelist. My apologies, Tom, I didn't see you in the attendee section. So welcome.
There's no public comment?
No, I do not see any public comments coming.
Okay, can you put are we ready to move on the agenda?
We certainly can. I'm not sure if Lucas has, oh, there you go.
Oh, there he goes. Lucas just raised his hand.
Yep. So I've got the count. So for Encinitas, as part of our phase 2, which comprises of about 72,000 accounts, you're coming in at 2,896, which represents about a 4%.
Thank you so much, Lucas.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving right along, I would assume.
All right, well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir. Sebastian?
Yeah, we have the standing agenda item for discussion of potential items for the board.
For the board?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm asking you because I don't have the agenda in front of me. That's why.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I just pulled
Okay.
up the slide, so it should be part of the presentation.
Okay. One thing I'd like to address, and I don't know, and I'm going to address it individually with the board members as well as the board chair and the CEO and the COO and possibly the CFO. Might as well, since he got an O in his name, I might as well address him also. Is the last meeting we had, and apparently the meetings before that, the CAC has brought stuff to the board to be, as an action item, and no action was taken. And that perturbs me because that's, if it's on their agenda as an action item, they need to take action on it. And so that's, rather frustrating that, we did our due diligence to send something to the board as an action item, and it was agreed upon apparently by staff, and they still didn't take action on it. And that, regardless of what it was, that process was, in my humble opinion, rather disrespectful to the Community Advisory Committee. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I'd like to see that addressed.
I feel the same, Eddie. And for those CAC members that didn't listen to the last board meeting, well, as we know, the last 3 meetings, we had voted unanimously, emphatically asking the board to take a stance opposing AB 1139. The first meeting, it wasn't compliant with the Brown Act. So that's why the next meeting we formally voted, but I think our message was clear and that message was relayed 3 meetings in a row. So yes, I feel the same frustration there with you, Eddie.
And I also agree with our frustration.
Thank you. I thought it was just me, and they always say I'm always starting mess, but it's nice to have some backup. So that's that. Does anybody else have anything that we would like to discuss to maybe take to the board?
I have one.
Okay.
So while AB 1139 is currently not moving forward, at least as that bill, the net metering 3.0 proceeding is heating up, and I think there are opportunities for the board to get involved and take a stance, letting the California Public Utilities Commission, letting the governor know that San Diego Community Power would like to protect rooftop solar and expand equitable access. And so that was really what our initial request was. The first month, maybe the first 2 months, the third month it changed to oppose AB 1139. But I would recommend that we ask them to stand up for protecting solar and expanding equitable access and get involved in this proceeding and be a leader. I think San Diego Community Power has an opportunity to lead and have other community choice energy programs follow suit.
Okay.
Can I make a quick comment on that, Chair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hammond. SCCP is definitely involved in the NEM 3.0 proceeding. We had received, or we have solicited feedback from you all, I believe at the last meeting, on what you would like us to focus on for the NEM 3.0 proceeding. I know that Laura is involved in that, and we're happy to come back next month and report on what we've been doing on that, so we can keep the communication going.
I don't recall that happening last meeting. I know last meeting we discussed NEM, the wholesale excess wholesale rate, but
it was 3 separate action items. It was on the net surplus compensation. It was on AB 1139, and it was on NEM 3.0 proceeding.
But the 3.0, we provided what we want to see in it?
If I recall, you did provide some feedback, but we can certainly come back and gather more feedback from you all.
Okay, I'm pulling it up now. To me, it wasn't very clear that's what was happening, but I think this committee month after 4 months in a row now, we've talked about we want to protect rooftop solar and we want equitable access. We want to encourage solar in communities of concern, and we want San Diego Community Power to be a leader in that. In what we discussed, I didn't feel like was that clear of a message.
Understood. Yeah, we can certainly come back with a more clear guidelines in terms of how we're being involved and what kind of sections of the different proposals we like, we don't like, and tee that up for you all one more time.
When is the when are they going to vote on NEM? I mean, what is the calendar for that?
The utilities today, there was a notice that they're trying to push the first hearings back 2 weeks. And so that will probably push everything back 2 weeks, but a decision is expected. A proposed decision is expected December or January, and then 30 days later, a final decision is expected.
And when is like public comment for that?
So I can pull up the schedule. I know, Sebastian, it's my understanding that San Diego Community Power is a party to the proceeding, correct?
Yes.
But just because you're a party doesn't mean you're actively involved, or that's why my initial request was to see more activity. Opening testimony, Eddie, was supposed to start June 18th. And I believe that's just with the parties, and then there's rebuttals there. And then they have an evidentiary hearing, July to August, opening briefs, end of August, reply brief, September. At any point, individuals are allowed to call into the CPUC monthly meetings and make non-agenda public comment. But I can find out from the titles of these. I'm not exactly sure when public is able to weigh in if you're not actually a party to the proceeding.
Okay.
Yeah, and through that, we were able to gather the feedback that we received from you all and incorporate that into any sort of testimony that we submit. So I appreciate this. Let me bring it up to Laura so we can keep the train going. But for this, we're definitely involved and we want that to succeed.
With respect, Sebastian, I would still like us, I'm interested in other people's feedback. We discussed, we felt like our opinions had with AB 1139 kind of fell on deaf ears. And so I I'd like us to have this be on the next agenda item for the board of directors. I still think, yes, have Laura come to our next meeting. Let's continue to discuss it. I've looked back at the agenda from last meeting and I don't see where that input was that you had discussed, but I think my recommendation is for us to bring this forward to the board, asking them to be as involved as possible to protect and expand access and letting them know it's a priority to us.
So just to be clear, are you looking for a sort of statement from the board or just to be involved? And if you're looking for a specific action, just now we've learned from our previous actions that we would have to agendize this for the next meeting. So in terms of general NEM 3.0 updates, that's always covered through Laura's regulatory update with the board. We can certainly mention to her that the CAC has asked for involvement with this, just to keep things moving along.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that we want to be involved in these conversations, and we want to know that the board is being actively involved in this, because it's going to it has the ability to have an extremely detrimental effect to our clients and customers that are utilizing renewable energy, like myself. So, anything else?
Well, I would just like to chime in on that. If I pardon me if I'm confusing this with something, one other, a different proceeding or a different, something that's happening in a different place than PUC. But I seem to remember there were like 20 some proposals from various organizations as to what they wanted in NEM 3. And I'm wondering if there's been any thought to trying to pick maybe the best one, or even cherry pick from some of the best ones.
You are referencing the same. I think there were 17 proposals submitted, but yes, it's the same net metering 3.0 proceeding.
So I'm wondering if, and I remember going through the list, and there's quite a number of the 17 that are actually, I'll say, favorable. Do we have a favorite?
I have no idea. Tara, do you have a favorite?
I think there are elements in various proposals that I personally would support. I think there are ways to strengthen those on the equity side of things. I don't know if maybe we'll see what the board, I know Laura gives an update. To me, it's just a very short update, and it has lacked the emphasis on how it would impact San Diego Community Power customers or the organization as a whole. And so that's why I'm pushing for something greater than just her simple update on this. And that's where I would like to see the board getting involved, or maybe we do read the proposals and come up with a recommendation that San Diego Community Power, then the board looks at it, and maybe San Diego Community Power is making comments on it, since it's a party and can do that. But I think just hearing an update isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for the board and the organization to get more involved as a whole, to protect rooftop solar and to expand access, and to be an advocate for that equitable access.
Yeah, and kind of to that point, Sebastian, I guess this question goes to you or wherever. When these types of issues come up, other than the moral values and hypothetical values, is anybody doing a study to find out exactly what it would do to the bottom line of San Diego Community Power one way or the other? Like if an NEM goes one way, how will that affect San Diego Community Power and its and people? right? Or is it just, you know, because what I've heard, what I've experienced in these last conflicts is that the board either listens to the union or listens to SDG&E or listens to some third party, and then they get constipated, intellectually constipated, and can't make a move, right? And so my curiosity says, are we doing any kind of study so that we know, we meaning San Diego Community Power, knows what the benefits or consequences are either way it goes? Or are we just, you know, trying to side with somebody else?
So that's a great question. I know that there's been several entities that have done a few studies here and there on the potential impact. I know, and I don't want to speak for Laura, but with, you know, 17, 18 proposals out there, it's a little bit hard to pin down which direction the proceeding will go in. And I know that initially proposals are submitted, and then there is a hearing process that will be starting soon, as Tara mentioned, which will weed out the good proposals versus the not so good proposals, because anybody can just submit any information that they want. So I think from there we would have a better idea of what's likely to happen. I know that as well that a lot of the proposals would be affecting the delivery side of the bill, which we don't have much, or really we don't have flexibility with. We, you know, as was discussed by Nelson last month, we're able to set the NSC rate and more on the delivery of the electricity or the generation of electricity. But in that regard, I think what would be helpful is coming back to you all next month. And if you do want to take a sort of action, we can agendize it then. So it goes to the board from you all as well. But again, just my recommendations, Chair Price.
Yeah, you know, my comment wasn't necessarily towards an action. It was more out of curiosity. Do we have, because again, my concern is, you know, we're listening to outside interest, trying to gauge what we're going to do. And I believe we have the intellectual capacity and wherewithal within our organizations to actually determine our own path and our own course, and what would be best for us. That's all I was saying. But if somebody would like to make a motion, feel free.
I don't believe we're able to make motions, right, Sebastian? But we're able to make a recommendation without a motion, is my understanding.
So I'm trying to be as flexible here. This is an informational item, so you can discuss. But if there's something that, for example, Laura can mention during her report to the board that would be brought up at this month's board meeting, we certainly can do that. If you're looking for an action, we can tee it up for next month, agendize it in your agenda, and go from there.
I do have my hand up, and if I may speak, Eddie does deliver a report to the CAC, I mean, to the board. And I would be happy if he echoed his feelings and Tara's feelings and my feelings that, you know, they're being wimpy and not stepping up to the plate in terms of advocating for rooftop solar and for, you know, equity in solar.
Yeah.
I think if it's in your update, and I would suggest maybe strengthening Laura's update instead of just her saying this is what's happening, explaining that the CAC would like the board to get more involved and to be a leader in this. Is that something that's able to be relayed during her update as well? And
we could do that.
Also an action item for the next month.
Yeah, we can certainly have that be part of Laura's updates, where Eddie has a chance to speak.
Okay, and I had asked Eddie's question as well to some of the staff. Sebastian, you mentioned certain things aren't on the SDCP side. That still impacts SDCP, because if we're thinking there's going to be rooftop solar, but the utilities are having these fixed fees on their side, in order for solar to pencil out, SDCP might need to be taking losses for net metering or might need to be changing things. So it is definitely all interconnected, and I think trying to avoid those fixed fees on the utility side is going to help San Diego Community Power and customers see the greatest benefits and to be able to do as many programs as possible.
Yep, I agree with that.
I see Mr. Washington has his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Price. And thank you also, Director Hammond. So just for clarification with regard to the study that you asked about, Chair Price, a few moments ago in your remarks, are you referring to the fiscal or potential fiscal implications to SDCP as a result of whatever rates or the impact from NIM 3.0? And I think Director Hammond, you are kind of alluding to the same thing. Is that correct?
Well, you know, the bottom line is that's what this whole thing is all about, economics. So yes, sir. You know, what are the financial ramifications, benefits, or consequences, as well as, because that will also affect community programming, community opportunity, whether it's residential or commercial, the things that are attached to delivering energy. If those costs rise, you know, it may make it unfeasible for us to be doing this, right? So it's, you know, we can't be, in my humble opinion, we can't be myopic in what we're looking at and saying, oh, well, that's just a utility. You know, we have to be concerned about everything that has anything to do with a light switch or a solar panel.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
What I was talking about was SDCP financially, as well as the customers, current customers, future solar customers, how these things impact SDCP customers as well. I think it's also worth exploring or doing a study on if it's possible.
Okay. Yeah, I think that recommendation to the board would definitely have teeth, particularly in the phase that we're in terms of startup. I'm watching cash flow and everything that impacts cash flow, which includes, of course, as you know, the revenue stream from collection from ratepayers, as well as the expenses associated with delivering that power. Those are direct influences to our not only bottom line, but also our cash flow. So I think those implications, a recommendation to explore those, would definitely be purposeful and have meaning.
Yeah, you know, and I believe this is going to be a forever fight. It's going to be a battle all the time. So we may need to develop or institutionalize this intellectual process that we go through to determine what we need to do, right? You know, this is not going to be SDG&E is not going to go away, right? The utilities are not going to go away, and they're going to be throwing attacks at us or attacks at the industry all the time. So I think we need to, you know, get into the frame of mind that, you know, we're playing with the big boys now. We need to start acting like it. But that's just my humble opinion.
Point taken. Thanks, Chair Price.
Any other comments? So, Sebastian, are you writing this down so I remember it to take it to the board?
Yeah, it's also recorded, but I also see Carolyn has her hand up.
Okay, Carolyn.
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment that I would really like to see a holistic study, because we're trying to do zero carbon by 2045. And I would like to see a holistic study about cost, especially cost for people who don't have solar, and how that interplays with all of these other systems, with solar, with storage, with, you know, all the other issues, because I think we have to take all of those things into account. And what I'm seeing is a lot of, people working on separate issues and just separate things.
But yeah, I'm here.
And I would like to see more information about the holistic effect on all ratepayers for SDCP, because we're in a really big transition, and so things aren't going to look exactly the same, I don't think, as they have even in the last 10 years.
Right.
And so I really appreciate you bringing this forward, because I think it's more complicated than just a few issues. And I'm in the process of listening to a 6-hour webinar that the CPUC had in February that relates to all of these different issues. And there are a lot of projections. A lot of people don't know exactly, but I don't know. I think it's important to look at a really bigger picture, especially to get to electrification, because in order to electrify, people that don't have solar we have to have prices that are on par with gas, with natural gas. Otherwise, we're really placing a burden on people as well. And I actually think that's part of the picture. And on one hand, I think it's complicated, but on the other hand, I think it's going to take all of us. And so I think San Diego Community Power has a huge opportunity to lead the way. But I would like a lot more information personally about all of these issues. So thank you.
Thank you. Any more hands raised? Any, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask this, but are there any hands raised from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Okay, well, that got hot and heated. But I think it's, it shows the level of interest that a community advisory committee ought to have, is looking at a bigger picture than, just providing energy to people. It's a larger picture that we need to look at. And to Carolyn's point, the notion that people that didn't have solar were subsidizing people that did have solar. And I've asked for that to be explained to me a number of times by a number of people, and it's never really been explained. But it may make sense to actually find out what that really means, right? Is that really happening? And what does, the people that are gung-ho for renewable energy and 100% renewable, does that have some type of impact on the people that can't afford it or can't do it or aren't going to do it? And I think from a community standpoint, it may be, one of our responsibilities to actually push that agenda to find out, what it is. So anyhow, any more comments, questions, concerns from the committee? So it sounds like my weekend is about to start. I can almost start counting down my weekend. Council committee member announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? No hands raised. I have one. Most of you know that I'm working on a project, the San Diego Energy Equity Campus at Valencia Park. And we just had a significant interest from a solar panel manufacturer who would like 15 to 20,000 square feet down there to manufacture solar panels. So I'm pretty excited about that, because it's actually drawing and attracting what it was intended to draw and attract. Okay, and if there's no other business, Sebastian, do we have to take care of any other thing?
Just have a good weekend.
We have concluded. Yeah. Everybody have and hydrate this weekend. Hydrate, because it's going to be hot.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.